Welcome back to Senua Part 2. In Part 1 we fought the fire giant Surt, and in the second we've to fight the illusions of Valravn. If you missed Part 1, a link will be in the description and also the top right hand corner of the video. Like I said in Part 1, make sure you put headphones on and enjoy the video. Man of culture. Basically, I typically drink one during each stream and anyway. So we should have new runes with new lore. Oh, there we go. Right away. Wait, did I miss one? I missed one from the previous section. Am I able to go back?
Ymir was a frost giant, a being of darkness.
No bother at all, dude. Thanks for stopping by. And once again, thanks for the sub again, dude. I appreciate it. Seriously.
Of his daughters and granddaughters, some were monstrous, but others fair. But there was another who came from the ice. Buri. In shape, he was like a man,
Buri.
Big and powerful. His son, Bor, took a
But
fair
adulting
giant to
time,
be his
no
wife.
bother at all, Chips,
And they
dude.
had 3
Enjoy
sons.
yourself. Have a nice weekend, and thanks for stopping
Odin
by.
was the
Seriously.
eldest, and the Northmen hold him to be the foremost of the gods, the Old Father.
I kind of want to go back and find that missing pillar, though. Is that possible, Valti, sorry? I didn't. I think I did though, because the N is missing from the previous set. Valravn pillars. Oh, okay. Oh wait, no. See the just on the right?
Ymir was a frost giant, a being of darkness, and all his sons.
Is there
and
a divide I'm not
grandsons
understanding?
dark after him. Of his daughters and granddaughters,
Okay.
some were monsters.
So we're not
but
missing
others
one at the
fair.
moment. I thought we were missing one from the
ice.
the right side
Buri.
end.
In shape, he was like a man.
Next will be
big
M.
and
Okay.
powerful. His son, Bor,
It's very dark
took a
in here.
fair giant to be his wife, and they had 3 sons. Odin was the eldest, and the Northmen hold him to be the foremost.
And those pillars will tell you lore, not really anything but collectible. Okay, fair enough. I suppose it gives you perspective on maybe some of the lore you might not know about each of the gods. And this is the same thing. We've to find the key.
Illusion hides the path to Valravn.
Illusion.
Don't trust your eyes. Find another way to see the truth.
Can I turn on subtitles? I don't know, dude. I've been playing without them. Illusion. I think it breaks immersion if I put subtitles on, though. An illusion. Oh.
What's that?
Do you have your headset on?
It's a door.
Pop it up full, dude, because some of them are actually hard to hear anyway.
Push it, push it. Come on.
Even for me.
Come on, push it.
Like, I'm literally trying to listen to every single bit. A gateway? Whispers won't be subtitled? Okay, that's good to know at least.
Something's different. Change different. Can you see it? She can't see it.
I can see it.
It's funny. We all want to see behind the veil, don't we? But once we do, we mostly just close our eyes again and pretend what we saw was never really there.
I don't even know when that happened. Everything is so subtle. Everything is just so subtle. See, typically I sprint through these sections, but I'm walking just in case I'm missing little bits. So this all seems to be... Whenever this darkness appears, it's a serious warning, right?
This is the price she pays for seeing things differently. Because once you gaze into the relentless darkness, all that lurks within it can see you too.
This is... Okay. Is there more? There is more. Let's try parry. Let's practice our parrying. Let's practice our parrying on this guy. Combat is very well done though. Gives me very good for honor feels. Okay, well that was my own fault. I really should have paid attention there. I took a lot of damage off that. Was it because I got hit from behind?
They surrounded you. She's not strong enough.
I think it's... And that's the idea in any way, to complete it in the one sitting.
Watch out! Watch out! He's stronger than you.
There's another guy to my left as well.
He's down. Finish it.
There's actually a lot more than I thought. We'll use this just to try clear one of these up.
Surprise him.
Oh, that was close. I think he's the last one. I've never been more terrified. I'm not even messing. I've never been more terrified fighting in any game than I have been in this, due to the consequences.
She will find what she's looking for.
But that's the idea. The idea is to complete this in one sitting. So I don't mind whether it takes 9-10 hours, but the main concept is to try and complete it in the one sitting. Is there a symbol on this door? Oh, the symbol is the actual... Okay.
Valravn's power of illusion comes from ravens.
Better and better as it gets onward. I could honestly see it.
To break his magic seal.
Align the raven.
Show me what you have seen, Truth.
Wow. Wow. I have to line this up in a very weird way. Why does it keep looking up like that? We can climb up here maybe? No. You can give hints here. I try to be reluctant because it's supposed to make you frustrated. That's understandable, honestly. You can't climb anything. Which is an interesting one.
Align the ravens with the mark of Valravn.
Is there a way to get up here? There's a bridge on our right, maybe outside? Feels weird having to backtrack to get up there, but it's possible as well. Oh, the audio cut out in such a weird way. Those gates are the key. The audio cuts out in a weird way there. That's interesting. The first time I've ever noticed something like that. See, the perspective makes sense if I'm standing from the top because that tail end is on the bottom left. Makes perfect sense. gates are the key. The only question is how I actually get up on top to basically get that angle, because the bottom left one is there, and this one, yeah, so that lines up on the right side perfectly, right? That makes perfect sense. Skulls hanging from them. Oh. Interesting. So this is how the God of Illusions kind of small puzzles are solved, right? Looking out for those small illusions, like those small differences. Oh my god. And then these just line up naturally when I get up on top. There we go. Okay, I wouldn't want to jump down there. Okay, so this... Does it just open? Okay. I didn't know if it would just open or not. That was the big question.
Do you feel it too? It's like crossing into another world that looks the same but feels different. An imposter world.
An imposter
The
world.
forest itself is watching.
Interesting. This game always... So far, it's just made me ask so many questions. Like, what the difference between what's actually going on, if that makes sense, and what's just basically Senua's voices. Almost like tricking, if that makes sense. Like tricking you. And here's another gate. The only question is, I don't know what this one would do. Or maybe I have to activate. Maybe there's a prerequisite. There's a symbol up here. So it looks like we have to line another symbol at some stage.
Another gate. Another gate. You know what to do. Stay back. You have to open it. It's not safe. Don't listen to them. Listen.
To break the seal, align the ravens with the mark of Valravn.
Okay, so this is the bottom left one.
Can't you see? Look around.
There isn't a way to line it up from here.
Line up the ravens.
So are all of these are all of these voices that I'm hearing, are they all just different basically different parts of Senua? Wow.
I hear something.
If you hear this,
Challenge me.
and it'll lead you to beware of his illusions. You can't always trust your eyes.
Can't always trust my eyes. Is this him? Oh my god. So that is Revan. Don't be. Their voices. People hear your voices can be anything. Someone from their past, mentally ill, twist their words. Some guy tells you you're such an idiot without meaning it more than casually. Then might start to hear that idiot later on in life and make it more dramatic than it is. What changed it? So it's just a mixture of people you've met in your life. I just didn't know if all the female voices would have been Senua's voices, or the voices that she's hearing almost like just different personalities. One scared, one, what'd you say, aggressive and such, but... Or then it's, okay, fair enough. But the like, what'd you say, not even the presumption, but... The only way to kind of put it is that there is no kind of definitive person. It just could be anyone she's ever met, right?
Wouldn't be the first time. Last winter.
There's some points straightforward.
She journeyed into the wilds of her native land, living off berries, roots, and rabbits. It's not uncommon, you see. They call such a person a Gelt. Some, like Truth, become Gelt in search of penance. Others, like Senua, to purge a curse. Those who make it back are forever changed.
Growls or hells. If you've ever had sleep paralysis, heard it's like that when you're awake. I've never had sleep paralysis, but I've heard of like the stories that people have had when having it. Like, and like, not weirdly, but oddly enough, a lot of people seem to have the same thing about an old woman and stuff like that, like noises. It all seems to be quite similar as to what happens, like a growling and stuff like that.
She can get up now. She can get up now. What's happening? She can get up now. She can get up. It must be magic. Dark magic. A trick. Valravn tricking her. Valravn. How can she
Get up? How can I get up?
It's him.
Dark magic draws her closer.
Valravn is magic. It's not him. He's helping her. It's not him.
It's a trick.
She's doing it.
Oh my god.
It's magic. It's an illusion.
The difference in all, just what would you say, the personalities of each of the voices is so hard to follow. Like, you obviously have the voices telling you to stop or go back, and then you have the voices that are just so confident that this is Senua's doing more so. I didn't get to hear those whispers. They were very quiet. One thing I do enjoy though, like most games obviously try to force you into like heavily exploring, where you want to search every corner just to find these small little bits that don't really impact your game. However, this one specifically, the linear style of it is actually so nice, just from a gameplay standard.
We picture fear, and we think of a shadow in the woods, a creature in the night.
Is that a mammoth's head?
If only it were that simple. The worst kind comes without warning. A deep and primal signal from within. A reminder that just because you cannot see the threat, it doesn't mean that it's not already here.
One thing I've noticed though, and I don't know if it's a small detail, or maybe it's just to basically be as natural as possible, is if you try overlap dialogues. So typically in most games and stuff, like if you come into a dialogue interaction and then say for instance you start another dialogue interaction, suddenly one dialogue will cut off, right? In this game they overlap, they constantly continue. There's no stopping either one of the dialogues. So I don't know if that's actually a detail of the game itself, or is it just accidental? I didn't do that time though.
Behind you! Behind you!
Voice actually helped so well there.
It's nearly over. Behind you!
I have to shield guards them. Shield break them. Oh, I need to be very careful.
Down. Take him down. They're overwhelming.
They are overwhelming me. Is there another one behind me? I don't know.
Stop them.
I really want to take out the shield. Actually, it don't matter which order this goes in, but I would need to take one out. Probably the most efficient use of this against the shield, guys.
Finish this.
Oh, that was bad. That was very close. I'm not even joking. It is possibly the most terrified I've felt fighting in any given game. I've never had a game be as consequential as this for dying, essentially.
The Northmen say that Odin and his brothers killed Ymir, and that the world of men was formed from his corpse. They made his bones into stone, and his
M
flesh
was
into
next,
earth,
you're right, dude.
and his blood into the salt sea. They set his skull to be the bowl of the sky, with his brains for clouds. Odin and his brothers caught the sparks flying from Muspel and made them into stars. And to protect the new world from the giants, they used Ymir's
Sorry, just 2
curving
seconds.
eyebrows as walls.
As you can do these in any order, maybe designers thought people would do Valravn first? Possibly. I'd imagine so, just due to the fact that I suppose it's just one of those things where it doesn't, since it doesn't really matter, it still just gets it out of the way, right? So it doesn't matter what kind of order it goes in that sense.
Do you know what it's like
However,
to leave everything behind? Your home, loved ones,
we have another, a few lineups. Wait,
perhaps never to return.
this will be tricky. One thing I will say though was it would have been cool if, say for instance, there was a checkpoint on each door or a flag.
It changes everything.
I'm trying to listen though.
Turning home into a foreign land and loved ones into strangers. Exile makes sense when you realize that you were never really home in the first place.
One thing I will say though, it would have been very interesting, say for instance from a coding perspective, that regardless of which door you pick, say for instance where this is now, where we're continuing on this chain, is depending on which door, it just sets a flag. Okay, this was the first door they picked, so we'll go with the lore from this part. But it's telling the story of the character, so it doesn't really matter, right? Because it was talking about Blun, was that the, I can't remember, I'm very bad with remembering names. So Blun, the god of fire, it was talking about his birth and stuff and how things came to be by his hand, right?
The Northmen say you must sacrifice in order to receive. They tell how the runes were revealed to Odin only in sacrifice. He hung himself from the world tree, and he stabbed himself with a spear, and he dedicated the sacrifice to himself.
I want to listen to this.
For 9 nights he hung on the tree without food or drink, and at last he saw the runes below him. He gave a cry and gathered them in his mind and learnt them. Then he fell from the tree.
Sounds like a very horrible way to go about it. Or have to go about it, I guess. This is one of those games where I really don't want to take a break from it, because I feel like the immersion seems as though, I think you're right, about like a single sitting. Okay, I know that this is probably gonna make the bridge, right? Maybe I have to activate the door as a prerequisite. But I feel as though you just don't want to stop, right? You want to keep going. Not the piss, but the game. I'd imagine so. I can.
The song. Valravn's song. It's over here. It's over here.
He's there. It's over there. No, it's here. There's 2.
Listen, focus. Listen.
It's magic. It's magic. This reminds me of some
The forest.
I thought the door or the bridge might have formed.
Which forest?
And this is where it gets extremely strange, right? Because we're supposed to follow, but
Why did she go to the wild?
She wanted to fight her own darkness. She thought she could beat her own.
Did she beat her darkness?
No. It nearly killed her, but she tried.
Druth helped her.
If it wasn't for Druth, she'd be dead.
She can't beat her own darkness. She wanted to marry Dillian. She came to beat her own darkness and know she would.
it's a very sad thing to hear, to be honest.
She thought her curse would affect him.
She thought her
There's the
curse would
bridge.
spread to him. She thought she'd bring the darkness to him too. She nearly died.
She thought the curse made her tainted.
Druth helped her. She has to.
That's really sad to hear, though. Obviously, she tried to help herself and just couldn't. It can be so hard to tell what changes. The changes are just so subtle. Go back to the gate. Wait, oh. Has anything changed then? I don't notice any changes. I haven't noticed any changes though. There's a hole in there? There is. Oh my god, wow. Wow. Okay, so I can see the change as or before I even walked through it. should open this just in case. It genuinely is. It genuinely is. That's why the first time I noticed it, the first time it happened, I didn't even notice it. It just felt so fluid in the way it happened. So we need to get to another gate. I feel as though I'm not going to be able to do this for a while. Like, I'll have to continue until I get to a certain point. You look past the gate on its side, you see the world as it is. Through the gate, the world as it will change if you walk through. See, that's the part I didn't understand. Like, I've seen it happen, you know, like where it does change, but I thought that had happened as I walked through it, if that makes sense. But it's so well done, honestly.
The Northmen say that Odin is always in search of knowledge and wisdom and magic. There was a very wise being named Mimir, who guarded the waters and wisdom which flow from the roots of the World Tree. Odin wished to drink from this spring, but he had to pay a price. So he gouged out his own eye as offering to Mimir.
Oh.
He drank from the well.
I never knew about that.
And traded one way of seeing for another.
So that's why Odin loses his eye. Interesting. I never actually knew the reasoning behind that. There has to be a little bit more to this small area than what I just seen, though. Besides the crows that keep popping up. His dome filter? How do you mean? The whispers, like the whispers are, they're very tricky. They're very, very tricky. Obviously in the fight it was like I could trust them, but I can't right now. Took me 45 minutes to realize, and you felt really stupid. Even though you love puzzle games and do them constantly, this one's just a bit, has its moments type thing. We changed the gate back, right? And then we go back through the door. That's why we opened this shortcut. Like, look at that. That's just so well done. That brings the bridge back. Being honest, I probably wouldn't have gotten that unless I was still in this area. I was still gonna just look around that one zone right there. Puzzle games are like some of my favorites. Now, and there's some puzzles where I just can't grasp them. Honestly, I genuinely cannot grasp them. I really wish I could hear those whispers a little bit better. Just a little bit. So what changes here before I walk through? I don't notice anything in particular.
The ravens. They've gone.
What?
Half of them have gone.
They've gone. Some are still there.
But where? Some are still there.
Valravn's help.
Oh my god.
He's not helping.
It's a trick.
Quiet. I can't think. Out in the wilds. In cold winter woods.
Where have they gone?
She no longer felt fit for this world. She almost gave in to the darkness.
Changes the way the skull is looking.
She remembered Dillian's words. She remembered her promise.
Come back.
She resolved to fight on and kill that which had become part Check it.
Oh, I'm silly. So the way the skull faces is what way you should look to actually see the difference, right? I feel very silly. But there's this skull. Can I walk down here? No, I'm a bit restricted in that sense, so I have to go all the way back around. But there was one skull I didn't go through that skull over there. Not with the ravens up in anyway. Some ravens are particularly brighter than others, though. I no longer can. Which was something to do with one of these skulls, right? So that skull's kind of dangling that way, though. Wow. Okay. So the skull, whatever way the skull is facing it, is to direct you in the way the change is actually affecting the map. Interesting. The artistic style for these is quite nice, I must say. Okay, I thought maybe I could crouch under there, but he was standing up. He's up there, isn't he? I could hear the chanting. Is that him? No, that's just a scarecrow again. Let's just check up here first. And that gets rid of more.
The ravens. No.
There's just 3?
Looking back, I was so naive to think she could banish it on her own. The further she saw into the darkness, the more she struggled to see anything at all. And the glow. The smallest hints of shape, sound, thought, grew in strength until they consumed her whole.
That was a very interesting one. I'm not gonna lie.
Before she knew it, there is no such thing as fiction. Had her in its
It's
clutches.
so intelligently done.
It's like it doesn't want to kill her. Yet, it will gnaw at her, biding its time. Only when she is at her weakest will it strike to kill. Will she find Dillian before her time comes?
So curious. The voices are answering a lot of questions, but they're also giving me a lot more questions, if that makes sense. Like, it's answering a lot of the simple questions I have in my head. Like, that's him standing up there, right? I'm almost certain that's actually him. Okay. So this is the god of illusions we possibly have to fight now. There is another door.
Overcome Valravn's final illusion to face him in his keep.
Okay. So this is the final illusion. Realistic, real totemic things. Exactly. It is...
We can fight it together.
Wait, she said something about... I didn't catch that last bit. We can both fight our darkness. He's obviously talking about, Druth. But I thought Druth already fought his... He said he did, and anyway, he'd already kind of completed his quest, completed his journey, per se, to overcome his own darkness. The only question is how true that actually is, right? So what does this change? gives us a way to walk. Okay. Such a convincing voice. That's what I mean.
Speak to me, Druth. Tell me a story.
Oh.
Senua, listen. I will tell you the tale of a man called Findan.
Findan.
The Northmen captured Findan's sister, and his father sent him to pay for her release. But they took his gold, put him in chains, and held him for a day and a night without food or water. Then they released him. I don't know why. Upon his return, his father's enemies in Erin set fire to his home. His father burnt to death, and his brother was killed. But he escaped with sorrow in his heart. His father's enemies offered redress for his loss and invited him to a feast. It was at a hall near the sea. But when he went there, they betrayed him to the Northmen, who enslaved him and took him to hell. 6 years later, his slave masters landed on the shores of Orkney, burning all before them. And into that fire, Findan made his escape. What was Findan burnt away that day. But from the flames, a new man stepped forward, and Druth was born.
Wow.
The man that I am now.
Okay.
Although Findan never set eyes on his dear sister again, I, Druth, have found you, Senua.
I wish you could have seen my home before these dark times.
See, the interesting part, and the reason why it's so hard to believe that Druth was something similar, or went through something similar, right, is Dillion obviously seems to be Senua's point of reality, from what it seems like in any way, and then Druth is almost like that. Like, the voice in her head feels as though it's like when her mind is most clear, when Druth is telling stories or kind of giving her guidance, but it's so hard to tell at the same time. I definitely missed something, though. I've definitely missed something. But there's 3 Raven Crests. I got over there. There wasn't even a gate, was there? Wait. Is there a difference with the gate if I go up to this one? And Senua's Druth really had nothing anymore. You went through worse shit than Senua. Guess he's 12-month anniversary it is. Orna! Look at that blue-haired monkey you have. Thank you so much for the 12 months of support, Orna. I appreciate it. You think you're good on top of something, there'll always be someone who's tops that. That's true. See, I've played a lot of like competitive League of Legends and stuff like that. Obviously, very different circumstances given the nature of the game and stuff like that. But I've never, like, if someone claimed I'd be the best, I'd never understand. I'd never accept that as the best, right? Because no matter what, no matter how good you feel as though you are at something, whether it's a game, a hobby, there's always going to be someone out there that is better in some way. Doesn't matter what way, but there's always something better, right? It's always a good mentality to have, just so you don't get what. Don't fall. It's always a good mentality to have, because arrogance in that sense is just your own undoing, right? But seriously, Orna, thank you so much for the full year. The full year, that's crazy so far. Holy mackerel.
I know it from the wilds. It's coming back for me.
I'm still here. Are you too? Where are we? I remember. It didn't end well in the wilds.
This is when she tried to purge her own darkness, right?
You think you can overcome the darkness, make sense of it, and once Relief settles in. Strikes out of nowhere, throwing you helplessly back into the maelstrom, drowning the mind in fear, deeper, deeper, dragging you down so far into the void that maybe this time there is no coming back. But there, in the darkness,
Senua,
she remembered what he told her.
hear me. Reach out to me.
Truth?
Senua, take my iron mirror. Look into it, for it is a window into the underworld. Within, you will see the face of the darkness that you fear. And if you focus, like I have taught you to, you will also see that as much as the darkness has you trapped within its veil, it too is trapped within yours. Focus. Focus! Focus!
I see you. I see you now.
Oh god, that went.
You led me to the wilds. You trapped me there.
That went from cinematic to absolute. Okay. I have to try just dodge that. It's a lot more agile. This is gonna be a lot more difficult.
Find a good position.
Don't let them surround
How many? One right now. There's another one on my left, I think. Two.
you. Too slow.
That was close. Move to our left so we can see this other guy.
You can do it.
You're close. He's gone.
I don't think I can block or parry those. I'm not sure though. I can definitely parry them, but I just messed it up. You threw another one? I have to parry. Either parry or I have to dodge. Have to dodge that. Dodge the next one.
Can't do it.
That looks so cinematic.
It's not over yet. She knows what to do. Remember the warrior trials.
The warrior trials. Cornell, I'll get back to your message in a second.
It's nearly over.
But this is very intense, and I need to pay attention as best as I can. I see a shadow all of a sudden.
The only way.
I need to save my focus for when he goes into a shadow form. I actually parried it. Oh my god. I didn't think he could.
I never beat you in the wilds, did I? It was an illusion. But not this time!
The mark of Valravn. One of the keys to the gate to Helheim. Hold it in your mind's eye.
With every battle, the darkness grows stronger. Every victory, bringing her closer to defeat.
The rot is still growing.
Unfair, isn't it? In those dark winter nights in the wilds, there were times when she considered letting go. If it weren't for truth, a chance encounter in the wilds, she would not have heard his stories of the Northmen. And she would not have this chance to find Dillion's soul.
I'm coming.
Is that playback intentional?
I still hear
The story is so sad. And it kind of makes me begs the question. It kind of begs the question of everything that's going on. I don't even know whether or not it's like real, if that makes sense. Like all of these fights seem to be just representation of her, like obviously the gods, but more so her demons, or what she feels are her demons.
And there she saw them.
And then suddenly
Elusive,
everything's just,
drifting faces.
I never really thought about that. Everything's just bright all of a sudden, as if everything's just kind of clear.
The trees,
I don't know.
the mountains.
It's so hard to tell. Because I haven't obviously explored enough of the game. That's what psychosis looks like to so-called normal people or people on drugs. It's just so hard to tell the difference between obviously the reality and what's actually just going on in Senua's head.
Can you see the faces too? They're there.
And hello, Knip, by the way. How are you?
Look for them. Senua.
Mother?
That's the second face now.
Senua, you have the sight. Just like I do. Once you can see into the underworld. The underworld and all the souls within it will see you. Don't be afraid when they speak to you. I will always be here to guide you.
So did her mother suffer from it as well?
That was her mother, Galina. She was a priestess, a healer. She taught Senua to see the weave that binds the world together. And it was beautiful. It was a
And
time before the
Alex-
darkness. But
So
when it did come,
oh.
it first came for her mother.
The reason why I'm so quiet
Senua
and
still sees her face from
still
time to
somewhat.
time, hidden in the world. Like she's still watching over her.
the reason why I'm so quiet in a lot of the fights is because the consequences in this game are basically each time I die, the rot that's on Senua's right arm. Should I not be as talkative? I don't really know. I just get intrigued. Oh god. I just get very intrigued by this type of stuff because it's leaving me with more questions, and if I keep the questions in my head, it doesn't really make much sense, right? Because it's just, so far I can only build theories as to what's going on and things like that. And as the story develops, I'll probably understand more as it continues, right? But I'll just explain the combat thing. I'm extremely quiet and focused in a lot of these fights because the way this game works, it has a very high consequence if you die a certain amount of times. Essentially, the rot will grow up on Senua's right arm, and once it reaches her head, it's permadeath. And when that happens, all of the progress I've had so far actually gets deleted, and you start your journey again. So it's kind of a high stakes game at the same time. In terms of raw gameplay, it's actually quite high stakes. Which is my first time dealing with a story such as this that includes permadeath. Roguelikes obviously have permadeath, and that's their main function, right? Or in most cases, it's their main function. Whereas in this game, it's very, very different. It kind of feels a lot more stressful, I'm not gonna lie. So the door to Helheim
Valravn,
should be open, right?
You may cross the bridge over the River of Knives to Helheim.
I'm just trying to pay attention to as much as possible. Typically with story games, they're fairly, you know, side questy and stuff like that. But a game that's purely driven on story, I'd rather focus as much as possible.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Don't open the gate.